Hello and welcome to this Southwest Grid conversation piece around what makes a confident gamer. And I'm joined today by Boris.
Butcher my name again, Radanovic.
Okay.
No, we can continue.
Let's go, yeah. Boris Radanovic. Now, to look at the pair of Boris is constantly correcting me with his name, so there we are. Look, both of us, believe it or not, are gamers. We're online gamers. Boris perhaps looks more like an online gamer than I do, but I've come through this whole legacy of really early online gaming, and it's always stuck with me, and I've always talked about it and tried to put it into the context perhaps of where children are now. So
can I just
of course, yeah.
We might be different in different age brackets, but we have the same upbringing on games because game came up around the same time that we both did. So
that's true. I just had 4 children, and you had the freedom to spend as long
and play games as much as I like. But we played the same Pac-Mans, we played the same Mario Bros. With the same.
Absolutely.
We started at the same point, but with different mindsets and different ages.
Yeah. So a gamer isn't always particularly who you think, and a lot of the attention, of course, recently has been about children and young children spending lengths of time playing, the obvious stuff that you see in the media around Fortnite, around League of Legends,
Roblox.
Absolutely. So let's try and pull some of this apart and take a little bit more of a pragmatic view around this, because both of us have a vested interest in gaming, because we very much see and understand, I think, between us what the positives, what the pros are, and what the cons are against some of this. So let's pick some of those and let's bust a few myths. The first one is the age, Boris, of an average gamer in the UK.
That's always a good question. I don't know why still in 2019, after 30 years of development of IT world internet, it was 30 years of internet a couple of months ago, why people still think of games as child play or child games.
So the average age?
I think that most of the people will never guess. 34.
It's 34 years old. Is that surprising? Because very often we think of this as a sort of, and if you think about it, industry aims those games at the widest demographic, which are those 21 to 35 year olds.
Even 25 to 35.
Yeah, absolutely. Male or female? Is this a male or female phenomenon?
I think like everywhere around the world it's 50%, and data shows it's like 59 male and 49% female.
Absolutely. So it's not exactly a male teen thing anymore.
Yep.
Everyone, lots of people game for different reasons, and there are lots and lots of different types of genre in game. Some of those genres are the ones that get the most press. So the massively multiplayer online role-playing games, the MMORPGs, are the ones that get all of the attention. So we've got, originally World of Warcraft, but we've got, the online Lord of the Rings. We have EVE Online. We have all of these various games where everybody gets together online and takes on different roles. It's a world. Grand Theft Auto again.
Yep.
These are massive sandboxes for people to get together. So, when we look at some of the risks around here, the risks we can begin to categorize a little bit and to put them into context. So the first one is, what do games contain? In other words, what do children see? What
the game is.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing is, what's the game based on? And the one that keeps coming back to us all the time is Grand Theft Auto. Grand Theft Auto is a game that's based on prostitution, misogyny, killing, torture, gang warfare, swearing,
driving
recklessly, taking without consent.
Yes. That's what the game is about.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you read the media.
Yeah, absolutely. And whilst the storylines are based around this, we have to ask, so are our children in there pole dancing, engaging in prostitution? The evidence suggests that they're not. Remember, these games provide sandboxes for collaboration. So whilst that content is there and driven in the storylines, we find young people gravitate towards them not so much for the content, but for the contact opportunities they present.
And let's be fair, that game in particular, Grand Theft Auto 5 or Grand Theft Auto, is marked 18+.
It is.
Those games are not meant by the game creators for children to play with.
So within Europe, we have PEGI,
Yeah.
Pan-European Gaming Information System. PEGI's interesting to talk about because PEGI will be on most game boxes and online game distribution like Steam or PlayStation Store or the Xbox Store. The PEGI ratings are on here. What the PEGI ratings are a set of ages about who that content has been deemed suitable for. So the top rating, it starts down at an everyone level, then it runs up to 7, 12, I think 15, and 18 is the top one, 18 plus. An 18 plus game contains extreme examples, can contain extreme examples of
violence, nudity, drugs,
yeah,
reckless behavior, all the things that
Yeah.
we think that a child under the age of 18 shouldn't be exposed to.
And these symbols are clearly indicated on the
Yep.
box. They're meant to give parents a guide, but where does the law sit? Well, is it illegal for a child to be playing 18 plus games?
Nope.
No.
No.
Is it illegal for a parent to knowingly purchase an 18 plus game for a child?
That's a good question.
It isn't. It isn't. This law, the regulation that sits around PEGI, is designed to regulate retailers. It is an offence to knowingly sell a game to a child, and if it's 18 plus. The problem with that is that it's really difficult to police.
Because for 2 months your child has been begging you and eating your ear off about Grand Theft Auto, which is a driving game, and you're 40, 50, 35, 28, it doesn't matter. You're going to buy that game for your child then. Because
Just to get some peace and quiet.
just a peace of mind, because every other child in their age group is playing that game. He or she is the only one not playing, and you unfortunately back down. And the question now becomes more of like, should you back down on an 18 plus game with sex, drugs, violence, reckless driving, with a multiplayer open space?
So what do we think then? If we were going to give people advice, all right, so there's the dilemma. It's also difficult to police, by the way.
Yeah.
It's also really difficult to police, by the way, because most kids don't walk into a game shop and buy a box game.
Yep, never.
They go and get the money, and then they go and
Online.
purchase it online. And unless you as a parent have put the right restrictions in place on that console, so you've put parental restrictions in place, and to be honest, most of us don't, to manage that, so your child can't make purchases on games above what you've set them for.
What the limit
You
is.
have no way really of policing it. So all right, so what is our advice? If we were going to say to parents, if your child is chewing your ear off for that latest game and you're uncomfortable with it, what's the advice?
Let's talk about a real example. This Christmas, just before Christmas, the problem will going to be the newest Call of Duty. I don't know if that game would be allowed even to sell in the United Kingdom, but it will be on sale.
And the content that's in there?
Call of Duty is like any Call of Duty. You take a gun, you shoot. It's a shoot 'em up game, but the quality and the design of the levels that you're going to play in,
Really immersive.
it's immersive. Allegedly, what I saw snapshots of the game, some of the content will be in London, some of the content will be highly questionable, should it be in a game. So there will be a lot of conversation about whether it's even allowed to be sold in the United Kingdom, and then who can children even play it. I have to say I'm a gamer. I grew up with games since I was age of 5, and yes, I played inappropriate games, which I shouldn't be playing at the age of 7 or 10. But I had a really open relationship with my brother, who's like 10 years older than me, who played all of those games. He kind of never let me play Grand Theft Auto alone, because the game was based around killing people and doing bad things, and I was 7, and he was like 18 and 20, and he understood the concepts. So in any, I think, voyage, in any game, a game can take you in really weird directions, and you can encounter really strange people online, whether online or NPCs in the game talking to you about really strange things. I think that experience that I had, or the ability to share it with my older brother, who could then show me and guide me.
So you need
It's
a
a
guide.
difference.
Yeah, you need a guide.
I think that there need to be strict rules, and I don't think that games over the age, which are clearly marked over the age of 18, should be played by children. I personally don't believe in that, but I understand that the children will play it. If your child is already playing the game or going to their friend's house and playing the game, I think the first step is opening a real and honest conversation between a parent and a child, like literally saying, what is that game? Can I play it with you? Can I just try to play with you so we can play together?
Or you need to understand what the game
at
is
least
that you're
something,
buying.
yeah.
If you were buying your child, I don't know, a particular piece of sports equipment, you'd want to make sure it was the best and that it was going to protect them or it was going to serve them better for it, you know?
Or it's the right equipment for the right sport.
Yeah,
so you're not buying a
completely.
baseball bat for cricket or stuff like that.
So do you think there's an element here of young people realizing that these games are fantasy, that they're not real, that the context of them isn't real, and that they almost like put on a gaming head? I guess the question is, do violent games, he said spitting, sorry about that, do violent games make violent children?
Yeah, violent music creates violent people as well, you know. No, I think like even scientific reports that we can share.
Black Sabbath.
Yeah, Black Sabbath makes really aggressive people. Yeah, I think that's just ridiculous, and science has proven that that's not the fact.
There's no research yet that proves that demonstrates that's true. And
there has been research clearly shown that there is no connection between aggression and playing violent games. So it just doesn't exist. There are instances where aggressive people do play aggressive games, but there's a lot of instances where aggressive people play aggressive sports. So it's like just a matter of our humanity. I don't think that aggressive games create aggressive people or aggressive children. I don't think that aggressive music creates aggressive children or aggressive people. I think that the content we are exposing ourselves to has influence over us, but we have far much influence over the content that we are using. Do not forget that in all of those games, you can drive by the rules, you can stop at every red light, you can help people, you can be a policeman or a fireman. But people tend to choose to do the negatives or to do the fun things in games.
Because it's that behavioural sandbox.
Yeah.
You know, and there is an argument that says actually venting some of those things in there is actually and exploring them. Because
it could be.
Because games may very well be a new playground to be able to explore your sociality, even your sexuality.
They definitely are.
Without theoretically direct fear of harm. If you were doing those things in real life, that would be a very, very different sort of set of risks and potential harms that you're exposed to. So having the ability, as you're a developing child or a developing teen, to explore some of those things within an environment where you can practice those things with other people, because one of the things we haven't really discussed is that we've talked about content and the stuff that you see, but games are one of the most highly social technologies on the internet. We talk about, we almost exclusively talk about social media. We talk about Facebook, we talk about Twitter, we talk about Snapchat and Instagram as though they are the bedrock of how people socially interact. Well, I would suggest that gaming and online gaming, I cannot think of one modern game that doesn't have a social element to it.
I don't think you can find to purchase like a highly popular game without the multiplayer option.
Absolutely.
Or even I was even researching for such games because I wanted to play with my friends only in LAN, only in local area networks, not on the internet. We don't have such games. There used to be such games 20 years ago, but now all of the games have a multiplayer aspect or have an online aspect, or you have to be connected online to play the game.
Yeah, and also that LAN thing is interesting. You used to have something called LAN party.
Yeah,
remember?
Yeah.
So you'd have a LAN party around someone's house. This didn't involve the internet, but it was highly social gaming, where you'd bring your computer.
Like,
some cases,
5 parts of your computer. It's not a laptop.
And some cases were made then with handles on for LAN parties, so you could pick your whole desktop up and walk around to a LAN party. But they were highly social events because what you were doing, you were all in the same room, but you were all in the same environment together. And to be honest, some of the newer games now are offering a LAN type function with them. So, instead of taking your computer over, you have closed groups, closed play, which aren't out on the open internet that anyone can join. You have a set of friends that you game with regularly, and that's what we see in a lot of online gaming, particularly in younger children, is that the children the friends they are gaming with online, generally speaking, are not strangers, they're not paedophiles, they are the children, mates, friends they've just left in school 10 minutes ago to go on and join online as well. So in terms of we talked about risks around content, we've talked about some of the contact risks, because there are contact risks, but these are social games.
Yeah, they are. That's what makes
they're going to have contact risks, aren't they?
That's what makes them interesting, but at the same time, that's what makes it challenging, because growing up in the 90s, the rule was you don't publish your name online, you don't talk to anybody online, you don't give any information about you, just be really careful about that new internet thing. It kind of shifted its way in the 2000s, and now in 2010s, it's just give every piece of your information to everybody online and just share it willingly. So it's kind of switch, and I think it will switch back. Yeah. But in games, gamers still have that. You don't use your name as your gamer tag.
We hide behind this identity, don't we? A gaming identity.
You have a different call name or a call sign or your nickname.
What's your online nickname?
I'm not going to give it to you.
Are you not going to give it to me? I'll share mine. You're welcome to go up and have a look at me. My name is Delius. 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 Myth. Myth. When you say that, it says Delia Smith. And all of these people I'm playing with don't realise they're playing with someone whose name is called Delia Smith. And I use that a lot because it's a blanket one and I can get away with it. You can do a search for me if you want to on PlayStation Friends. I won't friend you. I'll know it's come from this.
Lock your
give
profile
you an idea,
down.
but yeah, I can do it again.
I'm just really it's interesting for me that a lot of people that grew up in the 90s, they grew up with the internet and knowingly know that they shouldn't share anything, kind of got on that hype to share everything, their names, their mobile phones and everything online. But there's a still small group, and I see it on my friends list and all of that, small group of gamers that do not do that they didn't do it in the 90s, they're not doing it now to their children. Now most of them have their children, but they still use either nicknames or their gamer tags. Their profile pictures is not them. It's something.
It's a symbol.
It's a symbol of something.
And to be honest,
you need that layer of privacy, because in a game you can become anything you want. Why would you want to be you? Because you can be anything you want.
So the nice thing about it is that the console manufacturers like Microsoft, like Nintendo, like PlayStation encourage the use of avatars. So they, and actually charge for some avatars that you really want. Only a few pence, but if you want a really good, sexy, interesting, influential avatar, you end up paying for it too. So what sort of risks do we see online in gaming? What do those risks look like?
I think like in everything in life, it ranges in different age groups. I would say to the youngest children, yes, it's exposure to content that are not supposed to be exposed. Yes, it's the community that's vast, and there's weird people online everywhere.
But in contact, particularly,
I would say
people.
Meeting other people, there's much more danger in reading news headlines than it is in reality. My personal experience, yes, I have met strange people online through games, but I have met far more strange people in real life than I met on games. They were far more scarier than those ones in the games, because I can always press one button on my computer and that will be it.
And that's the point, isn't it?
Yep,
that's the power. So if you do come across somebody online who is ruining the game, we call that griefing or mugging online, you can punk bust them, which means that you can use software to detect those behaviors and they're thrown off the server, or just block them yourself. If you're playing with someone and they're really hacking you off, they're getting in the way, they're being abusive, it's your right to kick them out of your game. You've paid for it, it's your time, it's your friends. If somebody comes in and does that, that you don't know, punk bust them, just get rid of them, punk them, get them off and carry on, and they won't bother you again. If it's within your own friends, that needs a conversation. So if you've got one of your friends that you connect with, particularly if you're going to meet them in real life, have that conversation with them and say, look man, I love playing with you, I like your style, but the things you do hack me off, we need to tone it down, or can we do this? It's the same in real life too.
And so let's be honest, it's always your right if you don't want to play with somebody in their style of play. I don't like, let's say, cricket. I like cricket, but let's say I don't like cricket. I wouldn't go with my friends on a cricket game and then complain, why are you playing cricket? I'd just not be there and go with my other friends playing rugby or football or something else. So we have to agree that not all of us can like the same things in the same ways. So it's really interesting to play with your real life friends online. But sometimes you can play all by yourself online in any game and have much more fun just exploring the world and doing nothing with anybody else. Or having your own little piece of universe that you like to play.
Or as Ken Robinson said, find your tribe.
Yeah, find your tribe.
Find your tribe. Go and have a look. Try lots of things. That's part of exploring your sociality too. So we talked about the risks. what are the benefits of gaming very quickly? Why is gaming good? Why do we keep going back to it? Why do kids like it?
I know that hasn't been raised a lot, but I think that imagination and creation has a lot to do with gaming. And I can speak from personal and the wide experience of gamers that I've been in touch for the last 20, 25 years. Ideas that you're exposed to, the storylines that you have to follow, the repetitive, sometimes tasks that you have to do to achieve a certain goal, it gives you a certain mindset that I'm not saying that you wouldn't get in your real life, I'm saying that it's much more differently portrayed in real life.
So why is gaming media different? Why is the gaming experience different than TV and film experience?
Number one is interactive, and number one, I influence a lot of the choices, and I influence a lot of the changes that will happen in front of me, and I have an direct effect on the world around me, which is sometimes hardly attainable in the real world because we're just one of 7 billion. In a game, you're 1 out of 5. So your actions, interactions with the world change the world completely, and it gives you a sense of power and a sense of expanding your imagination with the question, oh, if I can do this, what will happen if I do this?
All right.
It's just a continual...
So there are positives. So let's
definitely
finish on a positive note. I'll give you a minute to think about it.
Okay.
I want you to think about a game that has positive messages and a positive role model. I've thought of one as we're going along. So if you're on either PlayStation or Steam or Xbox, a great game to go and explore. It's about a couple of years old now, but I will guarantee it's immersive, beautiful, such positive messages and some positive role models, is the game Journey by Santa Monica Studios. It's a beautiful game. It's a game probably that you can finish in just a couple of sittings, but it is beautifully animated. It's not a boring game. It's not a silly, soppy game. It's challenging. It's adventurous. It's explorative. It's creative. It's different. Go and check out Journey by Santa Monica Games if you haven't already seen it. Have you thought of one?
Yeah, it's hard. I'll flip to like 20 games, depending on the age of a child. But for me, still, when I was 7, I loved the game. When I was 18, I loved the game. And now when I'm 30, I'm waiting for the new version. I'm going to buy it and I'm going to play the game. It was Crash Team Racing. I don't know if you remember that game. You had a small vehicle, you had different characters that you drove around, pretty much the same tracks, but you had to perfect your lines and everything. You could send some rockets, you can put some traps for others, but it was like a highly just fun game, cartoonishly like, that you could just play with your friends and drive around in the go-kart.
Yeah.
So I would say like one good game that doesn't have any bad influence, too much bad influence, that I would say Crash Team Racing.
So there we are, everyone. Boris still likes blowing things. Child games, and you're worried about the amount of time that they're spending on games. If you've got a child who spends 10 hours on Fortnite, well, I'd worry if I had a child who spent 10 hours reading Shakespeare. So go and make sure that you find some balance. Go and experience what your child's looking at. You don't have to be a gamer to be able to manage your child's gaming life, but you are missing out. Gaming is an amazing environment, such a positive environment. Boris, thank you very much for joining me in this conversation. It's been great. Thank you too.